Here. Hey friends, so welcome back to DBC Live. TNT in the house today. Super excited to have my girl Tisha Richmond in the house today. I just call her Tish, but you can call her Tisha Richmond. And she is going to be sharing some awesome stuff with us later. But before we get started, and as we are joining in, please do tell us who you are, where you're from. Tell us something exciting that happened this week. Maybe something magical. Yeah, tell us something magical that's happened to you in 2021. We'll let that stretch all the way back in case you have to think back. I would say something magical that happened to me, but it was a little at the end of 2020 is I got to swim with dolphins. I've never gotten to do that before. I think that was really magical. What about you, Tish? Anything magical happened to you in the last little bit?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about last week in my district. It was one of the very first times that I got to really get out into schools and see learning that's happening in classrooms, because we went all in about 2 weeks ago at all levels. So we are 100% back in school with kids. And so I got to visit with all of my team of teachers, and I got to co-facilitate a lesson in a classroom, and I got to see other learning happening in classrooms, and I just didn't realize how much I was missing it. I knew I was missing it, but my joy bucket was so filled just getting to be around people and having real life conversations. It was really, really awesome. So I really needed that time, and I'm excited to be back in classrooms now, between now and the end of the year.
Dave said, I think he's thinking your magical moment is when you take your cat for a walk.
Oh my gosh. Yes, our cat loves to go on walks. It's the craziest thing. So anytime I take either dogs or both of them on a walk, as long as my cat Howie is in the general vicinity, he follows us, and I'll do a mile loop with the dogs typically. And he will follow the entire way, and he kind of shows off, like he runs ahead and then he waits for us to catch up, and then he follows behind and then sprints again. It's hilarious. And last night I went on a walk, and I think I had 3 different neighbors along the loop say, "Is your cat following you?" And I'm like, yeah, he does that. I don't know. It's the craziest thing, but it's pretty cool.
You call it the catwalk, right?
Totally.
On the catwalk. Okay, so we are so excited. That's really cool, by the way, to have Tisha on the show tonight. She is the author of Make Learning Magical. She's also a tech guru, important district office administrator person. I'll let her formally introduce herself better than that. But she was a teacher for a long time. She's been in education for so long, and she's often coaching and helping teachers to create these magical moments in their classroom through gamification and lots of other ways. But tonight we're going to dive into a little bit of how to use these wonderful game shows and like create some magic in our classrooms or in our staff meetings, because I know now she's working with district staff, and so she's still creating those magical moments. So Tish, in case people don't actually know who you are, besides me and you just howling all the time, tell them more formally what you do, your title, your role. Maybe not I feel like titles are so just understated. Like what we actually do and what our title is like never matches up. So tell them what you do on a day-to-day basis, and then we'll dive into some cool content.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so honored to be here. It's so great to be here with all of you live. It's almost as good as being, in Kansas with you, Tara. One of these days I'm going to get back and get to visit you, but so fun. So I am a tech integration specialist and learning management coordinator in Southern Oregon in a district called Medford. My secret title is Joy Specialist, because that's what I love to do. Is I love to help educators and everyone spark joy in teaching and learning. And so I support teachers K-12. We have 20 schools in the Medford School District. I support all 20 schools in just doing that, sparking joy in teaching and learning. And then this year we brought on a brand new learning management system. Canvas, which has been awesome. It's been very, very messy, intense learning, but it's been also really incredible. And so I was brought on as also the learning management coordinator to help, bring along Canvas into our system. And
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun.
That's a big job for one person in 20-something schools. That's a lot. We are so grateful to have Tisha on the DBC Inc. team. She has written a book called Make Learning Magical. If you've not checked it out, you can click the link above or below this video to preview it for free. But please do check it out, because remember, every single comment over in the comment section from now until when I choose the winner, which is sometimes tomorrow and sometimes it's Saturday when I finally remember to choose a winner. So you have a lot of time to get some comments in there. I'm giving you lots of time. That's what I'm doing. To win this book. So someone in the comments is going to win this book, and you will not be disappointed. It's amazing. But tonight we have Tisha on the show to share a little bit about how she creates these joy moments in the classroom using some of these popular game shows that we love watching. So Tish, take it away, girl.
Yeah, so I absolutely love games just in general. I always have. Growing up, my grandma had a game closet, and so I would love to just gather around my grandma's coffee table with my cousins, and we'd play games. We always played games as a family. And then I had this secretly, I loved being home sick from school when I was little, because back in the day, there were game shows all day long, and that was really the only time you could see them. And so I would stay home with like my Verner's ginger ale and my saltine crackers, and I would just binge watch game shows on television. I just thought it was the funnest thing ever. And then I think it was around in my college years when, what was that MTV show called? They took the bus. Help me out in the chat, friends. It was, I think they actually did a kind of like a reunion of it recently. But I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Like this reality kind of show. And I mean, since then, there's been so many reality game shows on television. So many of the classic game shows that I loved binge watching as a kid are back now as kind of, the new generation of classic game shows. And I love watching them from the lens of an educator and thinking, okay, how could we take these ideas, these concepts, and be able to adapt them and bring them into learning. And I did it, first of all, with my culinary classes. Prior to being a tech integration specialist and learning management coordinator, I was a family and consumer science teacher for 25 years-ish, somewhere around there. And I started to gamify my classroom from the very first day of class to the very time that I said goodbye to my students at the end of the semester. And I would have these themes that were really framed around reality game shows. So I had a theme of Master Chef, I had a theme of Amazing Race, and I had the Great Food Truck Race. 3 different curriculums, 3 different classes, and 3 totally different game structures. And so really before I really started to rethink the way that I taught in my classroom with a gamified approach, I just binge watched a lot of reality game shows just to get ideas. And, there are so many, of course, I taught culinary, and there's a lot of reality game shows that are connected to food, but there also are a lot that aren't. Mm-hmm. And even the shows that are connected to food, you can still think from the lens of a social studies teacher, a science teacher, a PE teacher, ELA teacher, and think about, okay, how could I substitute food for something else that is in, that fits into my learning realm and do the same kind of thing. And so I challenge all of you that are listening right now, just like give yourself permission. Right now, we need permission to binge watch TV anyway, right? Like we're all so tired. We want an excuse just to sit in front of the television. So just binge watch television shows around game themes. And, you know, so many different channels. You go on Hulu, Netflix, any of your cable networks, you're going to find reality game shows. You're going to find classic remixes of game shows, and just start like taking notes. That's what I did at the beginning, is I started taking notes and thinking about what are the elements in these game shows that I could bring into learning, and what, even if you don't have to gamify your entire class, you know, whether it's a year long or a semester long, you don't have to do that. You can just take these game shows and maybe just change a lesson, bring in a game kind of theme for one day, or a part of a day if you're in elementary school for maybe one subject area. And you will find that your students, it generates so much excitement, and it just really reframes the learning in just an awesome way. Hi, everybody. Real World, Monica guessed it. Yes, Real World was the MTV show that I was thinking of. So I think about like just pulling different elements from some of those shows. You know, you think about, you know, the theme music that plays when the game show starts, and kind of the excitement that's built up. I mean, just introducing your kids to class in an exciting way with a theme song going, maybe lights, you know, whatever kind of, you know, excitement you want to bring. Like, that's one thing that you could bring in. I think about just how a lot of these game shows have so much collaboration and team activity built around them. You know, you think about shows like the Amazing Race, and how there's teams of people working together, right? Survivor, there's teams of people working together, and all of the collaboration and really the strategizing and critical thinking that happens when they're having to try to solve the puzzles or participate in the challenges. Like, that is huge. And then you think about the creativity, and so many of the game shows on television require you to be creative. And a lot of times they're giving you constraints, right? Like, I think about the television show Chopped. And in Chopped, they give you a basket of ingredients that are kind of weird, you know, like peanut butter and mayonnaise, or something that doesn't seem like it goes together. And they have to think really quickly and creatively on how they're going to use those ingredients to make something amazing. And so you can think about that. Your basket of ingredients doesn't have to be food, but what could you put in that basket related to your subject area to really, you know, to have your students create and think about their learning and produce something. So
I'm seeing a lot of comments too.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I like that Janice is talking about how this is a cool framework, a fun framework for different subjects. Like, yeah, you wouldn't even have to, like Tish was saying earlier, and I've heard her talk about this a lot in presentations, is you don't have to gamify everything if you don't want to. Take a little bit at a time. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. Like, I'm thinking about, I don't know if this would work because I'm not really great. I'm kind of with this comment here. Sometimes games are stressful. I think sometimes games are stressful too, but I do think there's elements in games that's in all of us. Like, I think all of us kind of like that competition a little bit. You know, you hear the theme song and you immediately are like right now I'm watching Masked Singer. I know that I got on Twitter so bad. Like 2 nights ago, this guy said, "Isn't that like Chuck E. Cheese for adults?" I'm like, sure, whatever, but I love it. It is kind of like Chuck E. Cheese for adults. But I will say there's something like, who is that? They have that little theme.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who's he gonna be? Like, who's he gonna be? I'm always trying to get the star underneath that mask. And I'm thinking about how you could use even something like that just in ELA. If you had a mask on, for example, and you're telling them clues about these character traits, and they're trying to guess what character you are in the novel, or they're trying to guess, you know, what character you are portraying in the last 3 novels I've read, or last 3 stories. They're trying to pick out which character you are, just to kind of recall their memory of a story that they learned and some things that we learned and themes around it. There's just so many ways I feel like you can add just elements of the gamification into parts and pieces of your classroom to make it more exciting.
Totally. Totally. And I think that you touched on a really important part is that curiosity piece. And that's huge. Like when you can frame something in a mystery. In one of my culinary classes, it was in The Amazing Race, typically that I would do this, but I would have mystery recipes. And I would take the title of the recipe off. And first of all, they'd have clues that they'd have to solve. It was kind of like a breakout in a Google form. And when they got all of the clues correct and they were able to unlock the box, then they had a link to the recipe. But that recipe that they were making had no title on it. And so part of the game and the challenge was to try to figure out what they were making as they were making it. And so then there'd be somebody in the group that would be taking the clues that they had solved from, prior to getting the recipe and starting to research and trying to figure out what are we making and how is it connected to the part of the world that we're going to right now. And so just thinking about those little things, those little tweaks that you can do to your lesson to add a little bit of suspense and mystery and tap into curiosity is really huge. Something else that I want to talk about too is authentic audience. And so when you think about shows like The Masked Singer and you think about some of the other shows like Master Chef and The Voice, which I love. I love singing shows because I can't sing at all. Like literally, I can't sing Happy Birthday. I have a horrible voice. And I have always thought like, I just want to be able to be on a stage like that and just, sing. So I love watching them. And I love watching those shows, I think, mostly because I love, first of all, the passion and the passion that the contestants have. Like they love what they're doing. And then these judges are giving them very authentic feedback and they are mentoring them so that they can grow and develop their skills. And I think that that's a really important element of bringing gamification into the classroom and really tapping into the power of reality game shows, especially, is that use that authentic audience. Every single game framework that I had in any of my classes, I had an authentic audience at the end of every single unit. I would tap into community members, people from the district office, people from our staff. If I could find chefs, I would have them come in and they would be judges so that they can give real, authentic feedback to my students. And not only did my students take those challenges more seriously, but they had an opportunity to shine and gain. They were able to make the connections between what they were doing and the real world. And so whether it was an English teacher that was the judge and they were able to shine in front of maybe a teacher that they don't really maybe do great in English, but they were able to shine in front of that teacher in class, or whether they were able to shine in front of an actual restaurant owner in the community that was able to give real feedback. Like it was making learning come alive for them. And so I think about now, I mean, even in a remote learning environment, like we can tap into people from all around the world to come in and be authentic judges in an authentic audience for our students. Like why not do that and really create some rich learning experiences for students?
Totally. And I like to, I remember when you had like a Padlet, like you shared some things out on a Padlet and had students, even younger students, guess the food or give feedback on the appearance of the food and things like that. I think there's so many ways we can do stuff like that with all different subject areas. And we can tap into our Twitter PLN. If you are not connected on Twitter, I think Dave put Tish's Twitter handle earlier, and I'll list it again. But, connect with Tish, connect with all of us. And you need some judges, you need some things, you need some surveys answered. Yeah, tag us. We'll definitely try to be a part of that, or at least connect you with some people some other classrooms that can possibly be judges or help you out. But that authentic audience is key because that's what gets you really thinking and seeing from another perspective, especially if you're linking up with people across the world, like in other countries. I mean, I think how cool is that to maybe be studying the same character in two different languages, the same novel in two different languages, and being able to share different parts and pieces of what you're doing and get feedback. So yeah, there's just so many things that you could do. I like too what Sean said over here, what songs a character might choose to sing based on their characteristics and background. That could be a really interesting way to create some curiosity.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, Tish,
very cool.
Going. There's a lot of people. Jamie said that she has always used like Jeopardy for review, but now her ideas are flowing.
Yay! Yeah,
super cool.
There's so many things that you can do, really. And I mean, I honestly like when you start watching some of the shows on television and really start watching them from the lens of an educator, you'll be amazed at how many ideas come to you. And again, like sometimes it just takes a little tweaking of a lesson you already do. Like you don't have to create something totally from scratch. Like take something that you already do and think about how maybe you can add a little time element or maybe add a little mystery, like things like that to really just up the engagement of your students. And it's pretty amazing, and have them give you ideas too. And I think about some things like I think I have a link somewhere. I can share it with you later in the chat.
Yeah, they're above and below the videos. So
perfect.
You'll be able to connect to them.
So I created a game based on Press Your Luck. Remember the No Whammies game show that was popular like back in the 80s or 90s? I don't know. And that show, I was able to think about how you could take the elements from Press Your Luck and bring it into the brick and mortar or the hybrid or remote classroom. And so you can check out that link and you'll be able to see the game. And I mean, that's just one idea. Like you could actually read that blog post and go, that's a great idea, but I actually have a way better way that I could do that. Go for it. Like, that's the thing. Like, just you can take an idea and then make it your own and think about how it would work for you. And I had a thought when I was going to say that, and now I totally lost it. But yeah, I don't remember. But just start collecting ideas and watching shows, and you will really find that it goes a long way. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So think about too, like when you are creating, let's say you were wanting to take a classic game show and you wanted to like create questions for it. You don't need to be the one creating the questions for it. That can be part of the game, is having your students develop the questions. Have them collaborate before you play and have them develop them. And then that is going to really help them process the learning and think critically about the content. And then they own the game because they actually contributed to it and helped create it. And so really, really think about all of the ways that you can involve your students. And they have the best ideas. I had an idea jar in the back of my classroom, and when students had ideas, I'd have them put it in the idea jar. They weren't all epic, but there were a lot of epic ideas in there that I actually brought into my game. You could do that with a Google form. You could have a link in your Canvas course or somewhere that's visible, a QR code on the wall. And when they think of an idea, they can put it in a little, a little Google form. So definitely involve your kids in this, because then they take a special ownership in your class and they become empowered.
Yeah, and it reminds me too of one of the things. First of all, I should mention that Dave is volunteering over here to taste test and judge chocolate chip cookies, snickerdoodles, and ice cream. Just reach out, people, if you have any of those, and he's got your back. But I was gonna say, one of my favorite things, man, I'm talking like a Texan, and I haven't even talked to my family in Texas. Gonna say. Okay, anyways, I was going to say, one of my favorite things that you do in one of your workshops is have the people, the teachers, brainstorm elements of chance, and then also the part about brainstorming the extra bonus points. I forgot what you call them. XP.
Yeah, XP. Yeah.
I'm really not like into the lingo too much, but those two pieces were so fun to me, and I think kids would really have fun like brainstorming those parts of things too, because for one, elements of chance is always one of my favorite pieces about games, because I love it when you don't just have to be really, like in chess, you have to be really good at strategy. You have to know your stuff, right? But I love it when games just throw a wild card and you're like, oh yeah, like I'm about to win now. So that would just, I mean, I guess it just depends on the student and depends on the people, but I love those two pieces of games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, think about the learners in your classroom and what they love. And some love the strategy, some might love the chance. And as you get to know your students, you can bring in more and more of those elements to really hook all of your kids and get them excited. And if you are interested in kind of going, a whole semester or a whole year long gamified route, I do have a lot of game frameworks on my website. Huge shout out to Michael Matera, because I got the whole idea of gamifying my classroom from him. So check out Explore Like a Pirate. It's awesome. But I have a lot of game frameworks on my site that basically kind of lay out some ideas about how you could bring reality game shows into your classroom and gamify a semester or a year. And so there's so many possibilities. You can go super small and just gamify little pieces of your class or lessons, or you can go really big and you can gamify the whole thing. But I really specifically just want to encourage you to think about the reality game show side of it, because really there's just so many sources of inspiration when you watch them. And that really was what sold me, was when I really started to watch those shows with a new lens and think about reframing my class so that they would kind of follow those themes that I was watching.
Yeah, so cool. There's so many things that you can do. And as you are coming up with ideas, or maybe you're just like adding an element here or there, I would definitely say that's probably more like how my classroom was ran. Like there were elements of gamification in all the different subjects, but not like necessarily whole gamify. I didn't even know about gamified in the whole classroom back then. But I will say, as you are learning or adding little pieces into your classroom, please do share them out on Twitter. Dave did link Tisha's Twitter handle. You also can tag at DBC_Inc. and use the hashtag #MakeLearningMagical, ML Magical, to share your ideas with Tish, because she's very present on social media. We always pride ourselves in our authors being very approachable, and love seeing what you guys are doing out there and how you are making this like fit in your learning setting. So do tag us. Tish, if they want to follow you in other places, go ahead and let's share out all of your social media contacts.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at Tish Rich and on Instagram at Make Learning Magical. I do have, if you're a family and consumer science teacher, I have a group on Facebook called Gamifying Family and Consumer Science. I have my podcast, Make Learning Magical, that you can find on all of the podcast platforms. And then also kind of along the lines of reality television, Mandy Freilich, Jennifer Casatad, and I have we've hosted a show called The Masked Educator. We just finished season 1 and we'll be starting season 2 shortly, where we bring on a mystery guest every week. And the audience, the whole goal is for the audience is trying to guess who it is before the two of us does. One knows who the guest is of the three, and the other two don't. And so just really fun. Our slogan is fun is mandatory, learning is optional. So I would love for you to join us sometime.
That's awesome. So awesome. Yeah. So thank you so much, Tish. Like, you just are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to anything gamified, anything having fun and making anything fun, really, not just classrooms, but even if you're ever in the room with Tish, you're going to be smiling, you're going to be having fun. It's just part of it. So thank you for joining us tonight, taking time out of your busy day. And thanks for all of these. Thank you, Kim. Thanks for all these ideas too, and for joining us tonight. Remember, every single one of these comments over in the comments section has entered you to win a free book, which is a Make Learning Magical book. So you definitely, if you didn't get a comment over there, throw it in there. Let us know where you are, what you're learning, what you're going to try, what you've tried in your classroom. Put anything over there and enter to win this amazing book. So Tish, thank you again for joining us tonight. Thanks to all of our PLN that are watching and those that are watching this on the playback. We love and appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun. Thanks, everyone.
Next week, same time, same place. We'll see you next week.